Natasha, you also transitioned from working for one company to working for several clients, right? So what was the hardest in this transition? What was it like?
The hardest in this transition is that you have to be prepared that for a long time you will not have income. In this business, you can make nice amount of money, but you have to be prepared that you will source for one position for a few months, 2, 3, 4 months for one position, and then the candidate has like 1 to 3 months, even in some countries, notice period, and then when he signs the contract, after 1 to 3 months, you get paid. So this is the hardest part of the work. And also, we all hate Mondays. You know that. It's so hard to wake up in the Monday, on the Monday and start working. Go to your work. But when you're working on your own, there is nobody to push you. You have all the time in the world. You can delay, you can postpone as much as you want. You can and you can't. So you have to push yourself. And I think that this is very easy job and almost anybody can do it. People just need courage. And when I started working in IT, a lot of friends and colleagues asked me how to get in. And they asked me to recommend them. And when I started to work on my own, I asked some of these people, most of these people, if they want to help me. But I cannot pay them. You know, we are working on success fee. And you know how many of them accepted that? None of them. So this is the hardest part, because you need to rely on yourself and you need to push hard.
So the cash flow is difficult, and also probably the mindset and the positive thinking, right? Because you need to push yourself, as you say, and be prepared for the Monday to start.
Yeah, the thing is, I think that from the childhood, we are getting used to be pushed to do something. Our parents are telling us to pick up our toys, to eat, to come back home, get to bed, and then you go to school. And we are getting trained to be pushed by someone externally. And this is this is where external motivation doesn't exist. It has to be internal. And this is the hardest part. And the only problem is that we are trained otherwise. So now we have to beat ourselves. This is the hardest part.
And you actually studied psychology. Now, when you say it, I think I see some parallel with what you studied, right? Because you can also somehow reframe your mind. And is that what you have in mind?
You cannot reframe your mind. It's very hard to do that. You can have the knowledge to explain what is going on, but to reframe your mind, knowledge is not enough. You need to get the experience. And when we have one type of experience through our lives, then we need somebody who will teach us or unteach us from these things. So this is why psychotherapy is very helpful there. This is place where we learn different things.
Oh,
it's re-education.
Re-education, and at the core of it is the motivation, which you also mentioned. So what motivates you to get up in the morning and start working on the projects?
Well, of course, money is a huge motivator. Because I don't know where would I be if there was no money. Yeah. But this job, when you're working on your own, also gives you a huge amount of freedom. So you can work from home, you can choose who to work to, You can choose when you're going to work, and also the relationship between you and your clients is much different. I think that there is much more respect, much less emotion, and the emotions are some kind of obstacle in business always. And this is the thing that I used to tell you all the time, that somehow you remind me of AI. And this is something that is noticed in your company. There is no those bad emotions, that bad pressure, even if somebody does something wrong, and people will always make mistakes. This is normal. But this is not that something that is following you all the time. You do that, Mikhail tells you, look, you made a mistake, and this ends here. You have to change it. And he's not going to go after you for months and repeat, you made a mistake that one time. So, yeah, it's very different. I think that relationship is much more mature between two partners, business partners, than between boss and employee, because the relationship between two partners is like relationship between two grown-up person, and boss employee is more like parent child. And it's always frustrating.
Yeah, there is something to it. Now when you say it, I can see some parallels with what we do and how we do it, like with our business partners. Like we really treat them like differently, but
Like
maybe
grown-ups.
yeah, like grown-ups, but maybe we shouldn't now. And I mean, we should, but we should also treat this way the employees, right? But yeah, that's the hard part, of course. That's the hard part. But now when you work on your own, you also work with business partners, right? So you also professionalized somehow naturally on your own, right? Awesome.
Professionalized.
Yeah. I mean, just you treat others as business partners, right? As you
Yes,
mentioned.
and other treat me as business partner. But
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
not something that we can decide. This is a somehow natural relationship. Just like the relationship between parents and children is natural, and the parents cannot decide to treat their children as grown-ups. I think that people who choose to work for somebody else until the rest of their lives are choosing to be children in this relationship for the rest of their lives. And people who decide to work on their own at some point of time, at that point of time, they actually decide to grow up. And this is it, because it brings much more responsibility. Nobody is going to push you. Nobody is going to tell you what to do. Nobody is going to yell at you. This is all, those are all characteristics of parent-child relationship. And if at some point of time you decide to have your own business and to have your own employees, you need to accept that most of these employees are going to be like children that you have to push all the time.
And where do you see yourself? Do you see, say, in a year or 2 years? So would you still like to work on your own as the independent freelancer with all the freedom and work from home, or would you like to establish an agency and then have a few employees that hopefully you will not treat like children?
Well, in a few years, of course, it would be nice to have more partners, and naturally it pushes you to have some employees. But to be honest, I was in HR management roles, and it doesn't suit me really, because I don't like to push people. I don't like others to push me, nor do I like to push other people. I don't like to tell people what to do, just like I don't like to be told what to do, but in a pushy way. So if at some point of time I grow to that point, I would like to have some other partner who would take that responsibility. I would like to take over the communication with clients, with partners, some kind of business development, but leading people is maybe one of the hardest thing to do, and I would like either to have partner who will do that or to hire a professional manager who has the right set of skills and personal traits to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, now when you mention it, I'm thinking about all these other people who joined the community and they are wondering what to do next. So a lot of them have been freelancing for a few years and they want to start the business, and often they hesitate. I mean, like, it's really difficult to make the step towards starting the agency, because suddenly you shift from fulfilling on those recruiting requests and projects to taking care of legal and accounting and business development and sales and marketing, and it's completely different role. Actually, it's completely different. So this is the hard part. You will probably have less freedom as you have now. so you can enjoy
Yes.
it while it lasts.
Enjoy while you can.
Exactly. Oh, cool. So what are some other challenges that you've been facing for the last few months in the recruiting role?
Well, when you are on your own, there are so many things that you have to do on your own. So you have to do sales, marketing, negotiations. You have to source, screen, interview, even the content that you are making. The visual content, I'm absolutely terrible at that. And there are things that I just dislike and then I refuse to do them. When you don't enjoy doing something and you have so many things to do, then it's really hard to push yourself to do these things that you don't like. You always leave that the last thing to do, and at some point you have to do it, but you are aware that it will never be good enough. So this is very, very hard, especially in the beginning when you have to wait first 5 to 9 months, for example, for your first income, and you cannot pay copywriter, content writer, some digital artists and other people who will do these things for you. So this is something that people have to be prepared for, to multitask and to see all the sides of the business, to make presentations and all these things that a lot of people don't like.
Oh yeah, well, it's a challenging job, indeed, right? It includes so many different activities, and we may enjoy one part of it, but then the other parts can really swallow us completely.
Yes.
And which part of the recruiting cycle do you personally enjoy most?
Communication with people. It doesn't matter if it's clients or candidates. It goes very easily, and I hear a lot of from people who are saying, "Oh, working with programmers must be very hard. They are strange. They are crazy," and stuff like that. But actually, working with programmers is my favorite part of the job. I don't know if people who are saying that just don't like that type of communication, are not used to that kind of communication, or this is their first job, so they don't have experience with other structures. I was working as HR in production companies with a lot of employees, where you have to do with labor workers and that type of candidate, and this is hard. This is really extremely hard type of people to work with. But the main thing with programmers is that they like transparency. IT business has developed in a different way and exploded much more in the short period of time than any other. And then they got some, we call it benefits, but this is not benefits. This is something that everybody should be able to have. Like, if your job doesn't require going to the office, why wouldn't you work from home? Some people are more productive working from home. Also, they got some decent salaries. Those are not amounts of money that will make them millionaires. Those are decent amounts of salary that everybody who is studying for 4 years and learning their whole life and working 8 hours a day should have. And sometimes people from other industries and from HR also, sometimes they, I have the impression that they find developer salaries offensive. And sometimes people, actually often I can see people on social networks, they're not complaining about them having low salaries, they're complaining why IT candidates are so overpaid. They're not overpaid, they have normal salaries. And sometimes when, you know, HRs are negotiating with developers, they get offended when developer says, I don't want to work for that amount of money, this is too low for me, I don't want that job. And this is why there is this miscommunication. So people just need to learn to be open about salaries, not only in IT, but in every field. Especially in Serbia, it's a huge problem if you ask over the phone about the salary. And it shouldn't be. I mean, this is why you are applying for a job, because of the salary. So, yeah, those are the things that should be overcome. And then everything is going to be very easy and the job is going to be very pleasant for everybody.
Well, you mentioned a few really interesting aspects of the job. I'm just thinking about the salary really, because and it obviously depends on what is your role and whether you are the recruiter who is recruiting the candidate, and then you get the commission for the candidate, right? Obviously, the higher the salary, the higher your commission is. So from that standpoint, I mean, obviously, you would like the salary to be as high as possible. And then on the other side are the HR, corporate managers or specialists who are probably offended, as you say, right? Because their salary is probably, I don't know, 2,000 euros as an example. And then they have someone who is even younger, theoretically, they have less experience as the HR manager, but they have 3, 4, 5 times higher salary, which could feel unfair, but obviously it's just the market, isn't it? It's just the demand and supply. So it could be hard, really, for a lot of people to digest it, but it is what it is. Yeah, good for us in recruitment, right? The salaries that determine the commission. So yeah.
But it's not unfair. I don't think it's unfair. Recently, people are telling a lot about how AI is going to steal the jobs and how a lot of people are going to not be able to work and have money, which is true and also not true. When I started working on my own, at some point of time, it was very hard to me to achieve everything on my own. So I decided to experiment with some AI tools. And there are AI tools which are amazing, really, really amazing. They can really save huge amounts of time. It's not like 30% of the time. It's like 300% of your time. You can be 300% or 1,000 times more productive when you are using these tools. And now, of course, the companies, if at one point of time they realize that they are paying 5 recruiters who are not really performing well. Why? Because, you know, if you have like huge demandings, you want master degree, you want your recruiter to speak at least one language, maybe a second language is a plus, 3 years of experience, and that person in Serbia, you're going to pay 700 to 1,300 euros. And if you find that person with all the requirements who is accepting that amount of money, you need to understand that this is the person who want to stay in their comfort zone. Okay, they're accepting this small amount of money, but they are not going to work 9 hours a day. They're going to work productively 2 to 4 hours, right? And you will pay 5 people like this. And of course, if something is not well done, they're going to point their fingers at the colleague. Oh, he didn't do it or she didn't do it. It wasn't my job and stuff like that. But for 2,500 or 3,000 euros in Serbia, you can hire superstar and then pay a few AI tools, and you can have a huge team, like you have 10 people, 10 superstars in your company. So this is something that is naturally going to happen very soon, and people have to make peace with that. So either you are going to become superstar, or you can start your own business, or you cannot complain that something is not fair, you are underpaid and stuff like that, because this is our own choice.
Yeah. So then do you see as recruiters being replaced by these AI augmented recruiters, like the corporate HR specialists who work in those high-tech companies? Right now they engage people like you, for example, but do you think once they start using the AI tools that they will not need recruiters like yourself, for example?
They will always need recruiters, but they will need less recruiters, and they will not need recruiters who will do their job, you know, like half of the way. So they will hire, the AI tools are going to enable them to save money and to increase productivity. So it will enable them to hire one superstar instead of 5 recruiters who are just there to be called recruiters. And you have the experience, you know very well that when some companies who have their internal recruiters, they hire you and your company, you are the one who is closing the positions, because you don't get paid if you don't. And the internal recruiters, they will always get paid. It's same for them. And this is something that is wrong in many companies. They don't have the good reward and punishment system. And this is why it is that way.
Yeah, interesting. Well, there is always this clash between the internal recruiters and external recruiters, right? So, it will be interesting to see how it evolves once the AI starts taking over the world, and whether there will be more of us or less of us. Maybe at some point companies will start laying off the internal recruiters because it's really hard to set the incentive system well for them. Or maybe the other way, right? Maybe they will only have those internal recruiters and they will not engage us external recruiters.
Yes, but I think that it is always going to be on an opportunity for the people who want to learn the new technologies and push very hard.
Yeah. Okay. And people who are embarking on this journey, they often wonder how to get the first client, and then also what kind of money to ask for, for a successfully hired candidate. So some companies charge, I don't know, 20%, some charge 50, some 25. So generally, what would be your recommendation? Like, should someone who is just starting undercut the first or second client rate, or would you say like, hey, let's go for 30% and do outstanding service? What is your strategy and recommendation?
Well, I've seen a lot of discussions regarding that subject on LinkedIn, and I could see that experienced recruiters are raging because some recruiters are charging much less than 20%, 15%, some of them go as low as 10% per position. But I think that it is like juniors and senior. When you enter some world as a beginner, as a junior, you cannot expect to be paid as a senior. So I know that experienced recruiters might be interfered by lower rates of some juniors, but my recommendation, just like my recommendation to juniors, is not to ask some huge amounts of money, especially in these days when we have crisis in IT and way less positions and massive layoffs. So now, if you want to enter the world of IT, you need to sacrifice something as a junior. So it's better to start off with some smaller amounts, first few clients, first few months, and then when you collect, because you cannot live without money. You cannot wait for 3 years to your first client, and you will get your client first when you are asking less amount of money than when you're asking 30%. There are companies who are experienced with good ratings, very famous, with huge teams, amazing branding, and you cannot compare to them when you are starting. So you need to sacrifice something in the beginning. And after that, of course, as the things change, just like when you are a Java developer, when you're in Serbia, you will get paid 600, 700, 800 euros. And after 3 years, it's 2,000, 3,000 euros. After 5, 6, 7 years, sky is the limit, right?
Easily 7,000, 8,000, which is really crazy, right? Someone who starts the career in IT, not recruiting, but IT as a Java developer, gets 700, and just a few years later, 7,000 a month. So that's just really crazy of the salary, isn't it?
Yes, but I have a lot of candidates approaching to me and asking me how to start their first IT jobs. And you can really see the difference between the candidates who finished their IT studies and now they are looking for their first IT jobs. A lot of them are ready to work even for free for 2-3 months until they prove themselves, and then they are going to have what they deserve, of course, but they're ready to start with very low amounts of money, while some candidates who already made some career in some other industry and now they want to transition to IT and they have finished some courses, they already have some paychecks and they are not ready to go below that. So they are not ready to start working for 500 euros and wait for 5-6 years until they get 7,000 euros. They want to start with 1,200 euros. And this is something that is sabotaging them in the beginning, because you have young people with college who are maybe even better candidates than you, And this is the same thing in recruiting, unfortunately. So sometimes, you know, people are discussing whether it's fair or not. It's not about fair. There is no fair. There is only now. And what is reality now? What is the market now? It's very cruel world. It's like a jungle, you know, tiger eats zebra and that's it. There is no fair, there is no cruel, there is no philosophy in that. You need to adjust to the current situation in business, and it's always changing, so you have to change as well.
Yeah, the market rate is what the market rate is, right?
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Cool, great. Okay, so yeah, we discussed what is it like to actually work as the freelance recruiter, how to start, how to transition from being the freelance recruiter to having an agency eventually, right? Like the next step potentially, you know, how to do it. Maybe we can have another episode in a year once you know, get a few colleagues to start working with you, and then we can dive deeper in this aspect. So what would be some final advice that you would like to give to people who are wondering and transitioning to IT recruiting? What is one thing that you would like them to know about?
Well, the most important thing is to make that decision and to jump into the fire, to bite it. Because I know a lot of people who want to start off their businesses, and they're preparing for that internally, and they're writing some business plans and calculations and stuff like that. In reality, the most important thing is the courage to jump into the fire and to be able to adjust all the time, and to forget about all the numbers that you calculated and all the plans that you have made. The most important thing is to wake up in the morning and get to work. And this is the only thing that will bring you the results, not the plans, not the calculations, especially when you are just starting and when you are one-man band. Later on, when you have a team of people and when you need somebody to manage them and to really predict some things, this is something, I don't know if it's the same case in other countries, but in Serbia, people start their business, and then this business starts to grow, and they think that they are the only one who can run this business. They're not ready to let go and to admit that they need help, professional help, and that they need to hire somebody who really knows how to do it, who has the education, knowledge, experience, skills, and to let that people do their jobs, you know. So this is the most important thing. Jump into the fire, wake up, work every morning, and when the business grows, hire somebody who can run the business, because we cannot do it all by ourselves. We are not born for everything. If you are good in some communication skills, it doesn't mean that you will be a good manager. It doesn't mean that you can run the people. It doesn't mean that you are ready to see your own personal business. This is your baby, and you are very subjective. You cannot be objective because it's something that is yours. So this is the only thing that matters.
Yeah, that's a very good advice. Also to find the person, as you said, someone to run the business for you. Yeah, that's something on my to-do list, because Philip was, who I hired for this reason, he just passed away. So I need to find someone else, but definitely we'll follow this advice as well. So yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing. Where can people find more about you, where they can connect with you?
At the moment, it's LinkedIn and my LinkedIn page, Consultalica. I stole Metallica's logo, and I took the inspiration. And so far it works very well. And I hope that by the end of this year, there will be also a website.
Awesome, awesome, wonderful. Okay, I'll include the link in the show notes and on YouTube in the comments.
Thank you.
People can connect with you. Wonderful. So thanks for sharing the insights and the insider stories of what it is like to be the tech recruiter freelance, commission only. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the second episode once you start the agency with colleagues and
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for hosting me. You were my first teacher because when I started working in IT, I found your courses, your YouTube videos, and you were my great influence.
Well, then I'm happy to see the result of it. Great. Thank you. Cool. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.